Okay, now we would see the afterword, that is in page number 183. Okay, you will find this in page number 183. Afterword means after the war. Okay, on the morning of 4th August 1944, a car arrived at 263 Prisengrad, the address of the secret annex. German and Dutch police arrested the 8 people who were hiding in the annex. Now remember the 8 people? They also arrested 2 of their helpers, Mr. Kreller and Mr. Coffius. Mabe and Ellie were not arrested. Mabe later found Anne's diary in the building and kept it safely until after the war. Now this is how Anne's diary became famous. Okay, it was Mabe who found out the diary after Anne's and her family were arrested. Mabe found out Anne's diary in the building and he kept safe till the war was over. The 8 people were first taken to a prison in Amsterdam. Then they were sent to Auschwitz, the concentration camps in Poland. It seems that Mr. Van Den died by gas at Auschwitz and Mrs. Van Den died in the concentration camp, though nobody knows exactly how. Okay, so here, after they were arrested, they were sent to a prison in Amsterdam, and after that they were sent to the concentration camp. Remember the concentration camp where they were tortured? So here it is written that Mr. Van Den died by gas. Okay, those prisoners in the concentration camp were given poisonous gases. Okay, so Mr. Van Den died because of that, and Mrs. Van Den died in the concentration camp, though nobody knows exactly the reason how she died. On 16 January 1945, Peter was taken on the terrible prisoners' walk. Okay, the prisoners were made to walk. Okay, thousands of kilometers by the Germans. So Peter was taken for the prisoners' walk from Auschwitz to Mauthausen in Austria, where he died on 5th May 1945. So here even Peter died. Peter died on 5th May 1945. Now Albert Dussel, remember the dentist, the last member of the last eight member. He died on 20th December 1944 in the Neuengamme concentration camps. Edith Frank, that is the mother of Anne, she died in the Auschwitz concentration camps on 6th January 1945. Margaret and Anne Frank were taken. Now remember Margaret, who was Margaret? She was Anne's sister, right? Margaret and Anne Frank were taken from the Auschwitz to the Bergen-Belsen camp near Hanover in Germany. Now in that camp, both the sisters, they died. Okay, and the season was winter between 1944 to 1945. So we cannot say when exactly they died, but they died around 1944 to 1945. All the bodies of the prisoners were thrown together. On 11th September 1944, they were sent to a concentration camp at Amersfoort in Holland. Coffius was allowed to go free on 18th September because he was ill. Kreller later escaped and he went to live in Canada. Now these are details of all the people in the annex, okay, who was taken to where and who died how, where. Okay, so this is the afterword. Otto Frank was the only member among the 8 people to survive the war. Now remember Otto Frank, father of Anne Frank, he was the only person, okay, who could survive the war. In 1953, he moved to Switzerland. There he got married and he married again and he lived there, okay, all of his life until his death, until he died in 1980. He spent the rest of his life trying to share the message of his daughter's diary, that is Anne Frank's diary, with the rest of the world. So here we have come to the end of the lesson, that is the autobiography. So before we end the lesson, I have just presented with some images of the members living in the annex and also the family of Anne Frank. So in the picture you can see the family of Anne Frank, four of them. That is Mr. Otto Frank, Mrs. Edith Frank, that is the mother, the father, mother, and the corner on the right hand side you could see the sister of Anne Frank, and the middle you can see Anne Frank. And here this is a picture of the eighth member who were residing in the secret annex. In the first row you can see Mrs. Edith Frank, that is the mother of Anne Frank. Next is her sister Margaret, and we have Anne, and the right corner of the first row we have the father of Anne Frank. In the second row you can see Mrs. Van Den. The next to her is Peter, the love of Anne Frank, and next to him is Mr. Van Den, and the last member that is Mr. Albert Dussel, the dentist. So with this we come to the end of the lesson. Students, I strongly suggest you to read the textbook, okay? Because you cannot do justice to your book unless you read the textbook. That's all. Thank you.